So, you want to travel with a Carnival veteran? Okay, listen up. Hey, good people. All right, so you heard what the title is. So, you want to travel with a Carnival veteran. So, I have been doing this international Carnival thing for over a decade. I have friends and associates who have been doing it even longer. And typically, after returning from a Carnival adventure, there are friends who express interest in joining me for future Carnival travels. Now, depending on who it is, I may either get excited, I may roll my eyes, or I could just internally dismiss their comment. Now, some people are really bout it, and ready. Some of them would be great additions to the crew, and I know that they won't stress me out. Others, however, are all talk. And the rest, well, I'm just not trying to be bothered with flakiness or foolishness. So for the most part, you won't find a lot of Carnival newbies who venture out on their own. Some of them might, but it's very rare to stumble upon a solo newbie at an international carnival. Most newbies, they try to tag along with an experienced carnival junkie. And so I offer this podcast episode up to the newbies so that they can better prepare for travels with a carnival veteran. Your trip planners are also going to appreciate you having this knowledge. And if you're a veteran who often gets approached by friends to join you on Carnival travels like it happens to me, then this episode is for you too. So share this episode with someone who wants to tag along with you on your next Carnival adventure, or share it with friends who you know also want to go to Carnival. Okay? All right. That's your first instruction. Here are the tips. Tip number 1, save up because Carnival ain't cheap. Put those coins aside ASAP. Attending Carnival is a whole experience that far exceeds Carnival Day. The flights, the lodging, the costumes, the fetes, feeding yourself, exploring the destination, they all cost coins. The moment you get the Carnival bug, create a travel account and start saving your dough. Let the money pile up and don't touch it until your veteran Carnival planner starts asking for your contributions. Tip number 2, follow instructions. Trust the vets and do what they say. You asked to be involved. You asked a particular veteran to let you join the fun for a reason. Therefore, I'm assuming that you have some level of trust in that human. If you're someone who doesn't like to be told what to do, or are someone who has trust issues when it comes to this kind of thing, there might be some challenges ahead for you. What I'm getting at is this. When your Carnival planner says jump, you simply jump, or immediately ask how high and then jump. The moment you hesitate, the moment you fail to meet a deadline is the moment you have begun your journey into Carnival drama, otherwise known as bacchanal. Like, everything goes fast when planning for most carnivals. Flights, tickets, lodging, popular costumes, the list goes on. So there's no time for snail movements. We like to call this type of behavior stick-in. There's no time for stick-in. So depending on who your veteran is, they may or may not go above and beyond to accommodate your disobedience. Tip number 3, communicate. Be involved. Be transparent. Be direct. Be honest. The most annoying thing as a planner is when you're trying to help people, but they are either MIA or secretly withholding information that could be useful to your trip planning. Newbies, If you know your money is going to be tight, say so. If you know that there is a possibility that you may no longer be attending the trip, say so. If there are things you don't understand or questions you have that have not already been answered, for the love of sorrow, please ask the questions. Additionally, act like you're going on the trip. Don't be that person that doesn't interact in the group chat but has 11 questions the morning of the trip. Because if I'm your planner, I'm not answering you. You better scroll up or ask somebody else, because I am not repeating myself. Speaking of repeating myself, let's talk about tip number 4. Tip number 4, absorb and retain all information provided to you. If your memory is bad, take notes. If you have an amazing planner, chances are there's a group chat full of information. There may even be a spreadsheet or a website or a Google Doc that all group members have access to. Pay attention and utilize the tools that have been provided to you. The planners are doing all of the work. Don't make things more laborious by asking questions that have already been answered. It's extremely time-consuming and frustrating. If the tools provided aren't to your liking, then take the information and copy it on a platform and in a manner that addresses your needs, that outline things in the way that you need them to be. Okay? Now, the last 2 tips are on a lighter note, but they are still very important. Tip number 5, do your research on Carnival history and the destination you'll be visiting. What I love most about attending different carnivals is experiencing it from that country's perspective and soaking up the culture as a tourist. If you're going to a country just for Carnival with zero plans of taking in the day-to-day culture, you're going to miss out big time. So take the time to research the destination. If there are things that capture your interest, share them with your planner so that time can be allotted for them. Tip number 6, get familiar with soca music because you're going to hear it 24/7. This certainly isn't mandatory, but it can be beneficial to study up on the latest Caribbean tracks of the season. Each country generally has their own style of music on top of the mainstream soca tunes. So educate yourself properly depending on your destination. If you're going to Carnival in Jamaica, you clearly need to brush up on the latest dance hall tracks and dances. You're headed to St. Lucia? Get acquainted with Dennery. You're going to Bahamas Carnival? Then you'll need to familiarize yourself with some rape and scrape music, right? Like, I could go on, but I think that you get the picture. Well, that's the gist of the tips I have for you today, my friends. I will say that many of the happiest moments of my life have taken place during my Carnival adventures. But it's all fun and games upon touchdown. But when planning, especially with new people, it can bring about some mental aches and pains. So help the planners in your life to help you by following those simple 6 tips. Save your coins, follow instructions, communicate, retain information, do your research on the destination, and study them tunes. Now, if you're a vet with additional tips, please, I beg, drop them in the comments on the show notes page. If this episode and podcast has been enjoyable or educational, please make sure to leave a rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Until next time, beloveds, stay nice. And also, before we leave, there is another related episode to this called Group Planning, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly that I did, I believe, in season 1. So check that one out too, because my bestie April Eudora and I are on there giving more tips and adding more context to the tips that I provided in this episode. So go take a listen and enjoy. Until next time.